Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. Joining me today to review our Newcastle game is everyone. So I have AJ. How we doing, AJ?
Yeah, all good, all good. Glad to be back.
Mozza, how you doing?
I'm ecstatic.
Sound it, mate. You sound it. And also joining us is Drew. How you doing, Drew?
A lot better now. Mozza said that.
I meant it when I said it.
Sincerity from every pore, Mozza. We love you.
If you ever want a definition of when a Fulham fan's sounding positive, that it is right it there, isn't it? Let's get straight into it, guys. Let's talk about the game yesterday. We all went into this game pretty nervous about what we potentially face in Newcastle. They were a win away from being top of the table. We weren't really expecting much of the game, but I think we were all quite pleasantly surprised. AJ, looking at that starting lineup that we put out yesterday, unchanged from the week before in the league. Were you surprised by that? Were you happy with it?
I was surprised to still see Iwobi keep his place. Everyone else was sort of a given. It's clear that we're not giving up on that midfield pivot of Andreas and ESR just yet. So I didn't expect that to change, unlike some other Fulham fans that were expecting that change. The only change I was expecting was Iwobi dropped for Nelson, but to be fair to him, Iwobi had a very good game.
Yeah, he did. I think they all did, to be fair. It was a bit of a bad start to the game. I know we scored after 5 minutes, but it started with that Newcastle disallowed goal. Luckily for us, it's quite clearly offside and rightly ruled out. And I don't know about the rest of you, Drew. You're the same as me, but I was sort of worried about what the afternoon we were going to face after that very quickly disallowed goal in at the start of the game. What were your thoughts sort of around that moment of us conceding and then luckily it being disallowed?
It was difficult because we scored so quickly after it. And I mean, for those of you that watched our preview game, I mean, I was expecting the lineup that we got. I disagree completely with AJ about Iwobi being dropped. Silva was never going to do that because Iwobi is a Silva man. I like Nelson, but the lineup was exactly as I expected. I did worry, but it evaporated instantly because we scored straight away, and from then we were in the ascendancy. I was bitterly disappointed with Newcastle. For those of you watching and present that were at the Cottage last season when they beat us 1-0, in the league I'm talking about, not in the cup. They should have been 5-0 down at half time. And our response, I didn't see that performance. Hand on heart, didn't see that performance. You all know that because I said as much in the preview game. I was very, very impressed. But initially, I can't say I panicked, but that was simply because we scored so quickly after. Ash, I'm a Fulham fan. If we hadn't scored when we did, okay, I'd have been basically thinking, here we go again, because they do have talent.
Let's just look at the goal, Drew. Obviously, I think it's a really well-worked counter-attack for us. I think that one person who's starting to finally get a bit of credit he deserves from everyone is Traore. I think he breaks really, really well. And he actually sets up Rail to take the goal really well. He's really good control, really good turn and shot. And as you say, luckily for us, it was, 13 seconds after disallowed goal,
literally that's why I didn't have time to really resonate their disallowed goal.
Yeah, I was still panicking, and the fact I think just before we scored, it came up the VAR were checking the goal. They were double checking the goal, but obviously the game had carried on. But you were panicking at that point that we were about to score, and then it'd be pulled back, and it'd actually be 1-0 Newcastle, not 1-0 to us. But the goal itself was taken well. Mozza, your view of the goal, mate. What do you think of how well it was taken? Were you pleased to see it?
Yeah, extremely pleased, and what almost wasn't expecting it. It was like a bit of a shock horror after the Newcastle one getting disallowed. So, again, I'll use the word that I did at the start of the podcast: ecstatic. I sort of went into the game when we did our preview show as well. I think we gave our predictions and said, "Oh, we're expecting draws," and I think I eventually came clean and said I was expecting a loss. So yeah, to go 1-0 up, I was feeling pretty good.
Yeah, and for the next sort of 5 or 10 minutes of the game, we were really, really in control. You know, we should have scored a second goal. Emma Smith Rowe hit the bar with probably one of the worst shots he's taken all season. To be fair, he probably really mishits it, but you know, it almost works in his favour and hits the bar and it goes out. And then up until we got the second goal, I thought we were really, really in control of the game. AJ, what were your views on that next 20 minutes before we managed to get the second goal? Just how comfortable was it watching it? Because it felt really like we were really in control in the grounds.
I think there must have been some hairdryer treatment after Tuesday's game because they were a completely different side. Granted, it was like 11 changes or whatever, but the philosophy, the football style, the attitude towards the game was completely different. There's an argument that potentially that early disallowed goal lit a fire under our asses, and it might have been a much more methodical, slow, withdrawn game had it still been 0-0, and that disallowed goal never happened. But all in all, we were clearly very, very dominant for almost all of that first half.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you can't really argue, can you? I don't think anyone who watched that first half of football didn't think we were completely the better team, other than that first 2 minutes. I thought we were really, really in control. And the second goal is quite interesting, I think, to watch. It's another really well worked Fulham goal. We've scored a few of these this season where we've a lot of build up play, a lot of really nice, intricate passes. I would say extremely well taken by Emma Smith Rowe, but Drew. How would you describe Pope's goalkeeping for the goal?
Bearing in mind he's got aspirations to challenge Pickford as an England number one, he'd be very, very disappointed. I want to just rewind a little bit. As much as we can credit Traore and especially Jimenez for the first goal, from a Newcastle point of view, Raul did all that he could do with the ball coming in at that height. And Newcastle gave him literally an ocean of space. I thought defensively they were shambolic. I'm not taking anything away from Fulham. I am not. I thought it was a well taken goal, but I thought Newcastle was shambolic. And the second goal, probably to get back to your question, Ash, probably sum that up. I mean, Iwobi and ESR just cut through them completely down their right-hand side. And as for Pope, if you are a wannabe England goalkeeper, you've got to be saving that. You've got to be saving that. I mean, it was placed well, but he should a stronger hand would have kept that out. A stronger hand would have kept that out. I'm not complaining, and we deserved it. We deserved it. We were a better team. We were a much better team. But I can understand why there was such chagrin from the Toon Army, because I mean, let's be honest. If Leno had let that in, we wouldn't be sitting here. You know, we wouldn't be sitting here happy at all. Especially Leno being our number one. So to be fair to the Geordies, I can understand their consternation. Yeah, I mean it was a goalkeeping error. It was a goalkeeping error. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's Papadopoulos stuff, isn't it? It's like he should have way stronger in his goalkeeping than he was. You know, I was actually really surprised because over the last couple of seasons where Newcastle have been so strong, it's been with Pope as that back line, you know, as being in control. And he's meant to be their number one goalkeeper. You know, and I know they bought a few goalkeepers over the last couple of years. You know, if I was one of their backups, I'd be thinking I might have a chance here because I would not be impressed if that was my goalkeeper conceding that. And as you say, rightly say, if that was Leno conceding that, we'd all be sat on here right now giving him absolute like bollocking for it. So you know, it is one of those things. Mozza, looking at the rest of that first half. We didn't really create loads of chances for the rest of the first half. You know, as control we were in, and we got the ball at the edge of the box a lot. We had a few long range shots, which is nice because we haven't done that so far this season. We've all been calling it for ages that, you know, if you get to the edge of the box and you can't work it any further, does someone have a shot? I think that was mainly instigated by Anderson. But How were you really impressed with the rest of that first half? What were your thoughts for the rest of the first half?
I'm very happy you've mentioned Anderson because I wanted to bring that up as well. My thoughts for the rest of the first half, I thought we were in control, and I was really expecting a third goal, and I thought that's going to seal the deal here if we get it for the rest of the game. I was still nervous at it being 2-0 because we all know what we're like. It's the old Fulham thing, isn't it? Of the other side then equalising most likely in the second half of the game, or most likely beating us. So I was quite nervous with it being like that. So I thought, yeah, let's just get a third one in before the end of the first half. And I thought we came close. And that's what brings me on to Anderson. He did have that shot. He hit the bar, didn't it?
No, you're thinking of ESR. It was saved by Pope.
Sorry, I've just watched it in the last half hour again. But anyway, both of those shots were great. The one Anderson took, I had my head up in my hands up on my head, and I was like, "It's going in! It's going in!" Fortunately, it didn't. But more about Anderson. I thought he just completely controlled the game from the back all the way through. So cool and composed, and never looked panicked. Maybe one or two moments that we might come on to later. But he was the Well, I don't want to give it all away now, but he was the man of the match for me. Just completely controlled it from the back the whole way. So I was happy to have us being up 2-0 though by the end of the first half.
Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. I don't know. We'll have a talk about man of the match in a minute, because I think all of us have got at least one player that we think deserves a good shout out for that. My only real disappointment in that first half, and I hate to be that person, was the referee. I think there was an awful lot of. He was very quick to give Newcastle a lot of free kicks yesterday, and I know that there was discussions from Newcastle fans who seemed to think that he was very a home weather fan. I don't know where they're getting that from, because they were getting absolutely everything. At one point yesterday, Rail gave a free kick because the Newcastle player jumped over him. We were getting yellow cards for the softest things, and it just didn't feel like it was being reciprocated. I don't want to be one of those people that moan about the referees. But I just felt like yesterday we were getting a bit of a raw deal on that. AJ, do you agree with that for that first half? Or is it just me being a bit panicky about football?
I mean, from where I watched, yes, there are a lot of referees that would have let game play on, but I don't think there's a decision that he made that was necessarily an incorrect one. Potentially harsh ones, potentially ones that you could look at and go, okay, maybe let them off with a warning, don't necessarily give a card. But at the same time, I'm not against a referee actually playing by the letters of the law and doing what he needs to do by the letters of the law. We were just more aggressive in the first half, and I think that's the result of some of the yellow cards we received. We also then received a silly one for kicking the ball away, but such is with the modern game, as we've seen, or some people may have seen from the two Sunday night results.
Yeah. I think I can see what you're saying. For me, some of the things he gave were harsh, but I don't agree with some of the free kicks he was given. I think he was just being a little bit more lenient towards Newcastle in that, but that is what it is. So let's look at the second half then. Obviously, we had to make a sub at half time, which was probably because all of our midfield had been yellow carded in that first half. Lukic was taken off, and Sanderberg was brought on. And then sort of instantly we looked a bit lost. I know Newcastle made a few changes as well, but to concede after 13, 14 seconds in the second half was really disappointing. And from a Fulham point of view, it was one of those here we go moments. It's going to happen again, isn't it? AJ, what were your thoughts on first, was it offside? And then the fact that VAR took so long to work that out, and just how poor is the defending, or the non-existent defending at that point?
Offside decision's a tough one, mostly because of the angle that broadcasters insist on showing you. One, they either zoom in way too much and you can never tell sort of perspective, or two, they give you this weird diagonal view of it so that you're looking at it from a completely distorted viewpoint and can't see straight down the line. Give me either a heads up view, straight down, bird's eye into the players, so I can see whether or not the attacker is in front of the defenders, or give me a view straight down the touch line as if I was the linesman myself and show me like what you can see is clearly the most forward player. But that's neither here nor there in regards to the game. It's a close one. We would feel hard done by if it was given against us. So for that reason, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Why they took so long doing it, I have no idea. And why they started looking at things after the initial offside, I don't know, because outside of that potential Isaac offside, there was nothing wrong with the goal. So, yeah, don't know what's going on there. In regards to the defending, we were just still asleep. Clearly hadn't even set up yet. We're probably still tying our shoelaces and realised the whistle had gone, and then it was in the back of our own net. Very much what could have happened in the first half, but we were more fortunate with the offside in that instance. Correctly so, but we were more fortunate. What I am pleased with, though, is our response to conceding so quickly. We didn't collapse. We didn't fall apart. We managed and maintained the game, and then we managed to get a late goal from pressing them, and ultimately took home the win.
I can't disagree with that. For me, I've seen the offside replay about 30 times, and every time I see it, it just looks offside to me. We spoke about it privately, where it's like either the lines on our pitch are bent or the camera angle just doesn't nobody any favors in terms of trying to work out from the still picture if it's offside or not. But it is what it is. We concede, and like you, I was also quite impressed that even though the next 20 minutes Newcastle were really pressing us, they'd really got like the wind in their sails from scoring naturally as they would do. We didn't at all at any point look too panicked. And I think that Marco made a really good proactive substitution in the 67th minute when he brought on Harrison Reed. Drew, how impressed were you with Harrison when he came on, considering the fact that he's not had loads of game time and it was quite a quick game to try sort of get into the pace of? How do you feel about how he did when he came on?
I think he did well. I think he won the ball back higher up the pitch that allowed us to create 2 direct breaks. I mean, I'm very much with the Burnley fans on this. I think Berge is a much better 8 and is better driving forward. I think Reed is best as a natural central defensive midfielder. But I was very pleased. Harrison, he may not have the best game, but he never lacks effort. He'll run, he'll cover, he'll harry. But he did win the ball high up the field on a couple of occasions, and it puts in some really good positions. That was always going to happen because Newcastle were having to go for it. So there was going to be space in behind. But yeah, I was pleased. I mean, Silver and I are going to have to continue to disagree on Harrison Reed's role. I think he's a central defensive midfielder, but Silver outranks me in this. But no, I was pleased. I was quite happy. He came on. I think that the pressing that he's asked to do in that role is much better suited to than Pereira, because that's not Pereira's natural game. Pereira's naturally a gifted footballer, much more offensively minded, whereas Reed will be more of the water carrier type role. But yeah, I thought he did really well.
Talking to Pereira, because I think we need to talk about him because we've spent the last sort of 3-4 weeks as a podcast constantly saying that we don't want to bash him and then bashing him for the performance he's put in. But I thought he actually played really, really well yesterday. I thought his reading of the game was really good. I thought his distribution was really good. I thought the positioning he was putting himself was really, really good. And to be fair to him, he probably would have played a lot longer into the game than he did if he wasn't on a yellow card and throwing himself about the amount he was. I think the substitution was needed to be made by Marco to take him off and to bring Reed on because of the amount of challenges he was putting in. And it was good to see that he was willing to make those tackles and make those challenges because it's not necessarily the side of the game that any of us look at from him or give him praise for doing. And I thought he played really, really well in that position. I think for probably the first time this season, I don't really have much to falter in how he played yesterday. I was really impressed, and I thought he had a good game. Mozza, looking at the next sort of 15-20 minutes into the game after Harrison Reed came on, we looked like we took some control, and then up until Reece Nelson and Rodrigo Muniz came on, the game was a bit of a end-to-end game, really. Looking at between two teams, we should have scored probably 3 or 4 goals. Looking at like the Iwobi miss and the opportunities that we created, was it getting frustrating for you that we just didn't look like we could put the ball in the back of the net again?
I wouldn't say so much frustrating. I mean, well, yeah, it was, but I was just more worried really that we would throw it away and just end the game with a point. The Iwobi miss, I mean, well, it was on target and Pope did very well to get to it, in my opinion. But again, I was just thinking, if we just got that, end of. I was very excited when Reece Nelson came on, as I have been each time he's come on so far in the games that we've had this season. And I was so happy that he got that goal. And yeah, long may more of that continue, please. But yeah, no, there was a bit as well. I think I spoke with Drew. We met after the game and we had a quick chat about things. And we were talking about Lino sort of giving the ball away at one point, and then
to Shah.
Yeah, and that was like, here we go. We got very lucky with that. So yeah, I reckon as AJ said earlier, he would have really had a bit more of hair dry treatment from Silva. That all gone badly, but yeah.
I was about to bring it up, to be honest with you. I think the last sort of 5 minutes of the game and the result sort of hinged on 2 massive mistakes, and one was punished and one wasn't. Shah missing from 8 yards after that bit of sloppy back play from us, and then us scoring from Bruno Guimaraes, basically just booting the ball across the box and hitting Muniz on the backside, and they're setting up Nelson, and Nelson I think takes that goal really well. That's probably the difference in the game at that second half, in the sense of we took a big mistake they made and we scored, and we made a massive mistake and they didn't. AJ, looking at before we go on and talk about our man of the matches and stuff, what were your views on that last 10 minutes? Did it look like we held on comfortably? Was it we needed that third goal, obviously the second 2-goal cushion, to really be assured of the win, but how did it feel watching it? Were you comfortable, or I know as Fulham fans we never are, but how did you feel?
More secure than I have in previous games, but that's because I feel Newcastle, for what they were, didn't offer a tremendous amount offensively outside of their goal and their disallowed goal. There wasn't an awful lot when they broke that I was bricking it about and worried about, and a lot of that's to do with my man of the match vote, which I'll get to when we get round to it. But in regards to that 10 minutes of football, we just seemed more assured. I think Harrison Reed did an excellent job of doing what he does best under Marco Silva. I know we had all preferred to see him somewhat deeper, but I think because of his physical stature, Silva sees him more as a Mozza, which is perfectly acceptable because he doesn't stop running ever. I'd love to have his sort of engine. Let's just put it that way. It was a good game all in all, and very, very happy with the result against a team that have done well so far this season. I think we were very, very fortunate in that the ball did break to probably one of the few players we wouldn't mind it falling in their lap. The sort of player you don't want shooting from 40 yards, but you don't mind shooting from 25.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I think we can all admit that it's relieved good 3 points. None of us saw us winning that game. We were all really worried about it in the preview show. And when I saw that Isaac was playing, I was actually genuinely worried about whether or not we'd get anything from the game. But we held on. We got the result. I think we more than deserved from the game. And we move on to next week from that. before we go, let's just go around the room and get everyone's man of the matches, and then obviously award ours as a collective. Drew, give us a shout out, mate, for your man of the match and why you think they deserve it.
Oh, that's difficult. Probably a Wobie, but I mean, I could give you 4 or 5. I mean, Mozza's already mentioned Anderson. We look so much better with him inside. ESR is getting stronger every week and brings us a dimension that we didn't have. I thought Raul played well. A lot of them. I mean, Tete. I mean, he's getting boring now mentioning his name, but I'll give it to Alex because Alex, he put in a shift. But I mean, you could name me 4 or 5 other players, and I wouldn't argue with you.
Mozza, I think I've got a secret suspicion that we all know you're going to pick, but
Yeah.
who's your man of the match and your reasons for it?
I let the cat out the bag early with that one, but Anderson just for being solid and cool, calm and collected and composed and just completely controlling the game from the back. My honourable mentions would be Tete as well, and also Traore. But yeah, for me it's Anderson this day.
And AJ, what about yourself, mate?
I'm giving it to ESR. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. He did exceptionally well. I'm enjoying watching him play football. But the Arsenal fans, please get the hell off of our votes. Please, I'm begging. No, my man of the match vote goes to the Great Dane. Joachim Andersen. It has to be. He was so assured, so collected, so calm, and everything we had missed him for. From that relegation season. I'm just so happy that he's back. My honourable mentions are Tete, Alex Iwobi, and Lukic, even though he only played half a game.
Yeah, I can't look really past Anderson. For me, I'm in 2 minds. He should be man of the match for my own personal vote. For me, it's between Anderson and Anthony Robinson. I thought Anthony Robinson yesterday had an absolute blinder of a game. I thought he didn't put a foot wrong. I thought he covered a lot of space going forward and at the back, And before we brought Issa Diop on and we went 3 centre backs on the pitch, he was covering an awful lot of space because of Newcastle's quick counter attack. And I thought he played really well. Considering the mistake he made at the end of the West Ham game last week, it'd have been really easy for him to come in and not play the way he did yesterday. But he was absolutely solid, and I think he deserves the plaudits for that. And I think he even sort of played a bit of part in the Smith Rowe goal because he's overlapping run from Iwobi, took 2 defenders away and gave Iwobi some extra space to make the pass through. But I'm in agreement with both of you, both to Jacks, really. I think that Anderson has to be man of the match for me. He does something as a defender that I've not seen in a long time. Watching him play, you can physically see him talking to everyone around him. He's constantly, pointing and giving instructions of where people should move to make space. And you can see it physically helps him. He constant conversation with Kenny Tete yesterday. The 3 or 4 times when they tried to have a bit of link-up play that didn't quite come off, you can see the physical conversation between them, and they're trying to just work it out as they go along. And you love to see it because you can see they're actively trying to problem solve as they play. And it takes an awful lot to do that as a footballer. So for me, without a doubt, Anderson, man of the match yesterday, fully deserved. As I say, honourable mention of Andy Robson. I think he deserves a good shout out from that. So we'll go our man of the match to Anderson. And that's it, really. We'll look forward to seeing you guys at the end of the week when we come to preview the next game this weekend against Forest. Until then, we'll see you all soon. Come on, you Whites. Thanks for joining me, guys. And we'll see.
Like, comment, subscribe.